Hey guys, this is Brad from Blue Nile Farm. Welcome to the channel. You know, I made a video about a year ago on how to take the pressure off lines when you're trying to hook on couplers. And a couple people wanted to really see specifically how it's done. So I'm remaking this video to kind of go over this a little bit more in depth to show you what to do. This is what most people do in the field. You know, there's a lot of different ways to do it out there, but this is really probably the most practical and the cheapest way around. So stay tuned, and I'll kind of show you on the skid steer on the tractor what to do when you're trying to hook up an attachment and the lines aren't going into the couplers. So stay tuned. So I'm trying to get this Dan User Intimidator hooked up to my skid steer. And the machine was running. I went over there, I hooked it up, I got it on, and I grabbed one of the couplers and I tried to push it in and it won't go. And I can feel that there's pressure here and it's not going in. And even before I had this, on a lot of skid steers, you can, like on the Kubota, you can push this in, hold it for like 15 seconds, and it's supposed to relieve pressure in the lines. So when you know that this isn't going to work and say the machine's running, you can turn it off and try it that way. A lot of times, some machines allow you to set a coupler in when the machine's off. Sometimes they don't. It all depends on the system. I find it's the safest thing to do is when you're going to play around with couplers and hoses, first thing, turn the machine off. Second thing is you have basically the flat face washers on a skid steer. This is high flow, this is low flow. The problem is that no matter what, whether you're working with high flow or low flow, you're going to have the same problem. These things will not go in. And the high flow is worse because the hoses are so much fatter. You know, I have a brush mower that I use that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I'm still stuck when I try to fight it. And I fought it for about an hour one day and it's just not worth the hassle. So all you need to do is turn the machine off first thing. Secondly, there's not so much pressure in these lines. It's just this little bit of pressure that will not allow you to actually get these couplers to hook on. So you have a couple ways to do it, but the easiest way that I do it is I look at my coupler and it's attached to the line and there's always two spots. So what I need to do is disconnect this line from this hose. So what I'm going to do is take 2 wrenches. Basically, I like to use open end crescents. And what I'll do is I'll get on this so I can break it. So I'm going to grab it in 2 places and just turn it to break. And I'm not looking necessarily always to take this off. I'm just looking at just breaking the pressure. And just enough to see it start to drip. It's not going to be high pressure. It's not going to go crazy out of here. It's just going to drip. And sometimes all you have to do is let it go and drip a little bit. I mean, this is not coming out anything crazy. You can see it dripping. But, you know, sometimes you can take it completely off. It's not going to matter. All right, all the fluid's out of there. All the pressure's out. All we're going to do is tighten it back up. Now that they're tight, and you saw there's really no pressure to it, they should go on very easy. See, snap in. So sometimes when you do one, it relieves both lines, and it does. Sometimes I've had to undo both lines, so it all depends. But why? Don't fight it. If this thing's not going in, grab yourself 2 wrenches and undo it. Now, some machines are a little different. I'm going to show you like a Grapple that's different. You know, you don't always have to break it here, you know, to break the line, as they say. You know, you can break the line anywhere in your machine that's closer or easier. So let me show you another skid steer attachment that you can kind of take a look at, and I'll show you, you know, where you can break the line in different options. So just like we just talked about with my skid steer, this Grapple is also for the skid steer. It's a flat face coupler. Now the same issue applies. Sometimes this thing has a lot of pressure buildup and sometimes it does not. And you know, today it's like 90 degrees. We had a lot of sun that's out earlier. Sometimes just the sun alone could heat up the oil that's in the hoses because the hoses get hot and it expands, and that's part of the reason for pressure buildup. So a lot of times when you take these off, they might have no pressure, but sometimes they do. And I think sometimes it depends on where you turn them off, whether the jaws are open, the jaws are shut, you know, where in the process does this lock up. So again, the same issue holds true. You can either break them here at where the connections are between the coupler and the line, or like on this machine, easy access, right here are two of those lines are coming right here to the machine. You can just break one of these nuts, pop it off, and open up slowly, let the oil drip out, tighten it back up, and stick it in, and you'll be good to go. So don't always assume that you have to break the line at the couplers. You can break it at different junctures, but you have to have easy access to it, and this is a good easy access point. The tractors are a little bit different. I'm going to show you on a tractor next on how to deal with that pressure buildup. So here when we're dealing with tractors, we're dealing with different types of couplers, because these are not flat face couplers. They actually have a ball, or they have this little pin that's here providing us with some pressure. And if you depress this pin or the ball, this would actually squirt out with oil. So sometimes when these are off a machine and you have the same issue where they won't plug in, you don't necessarily have to break the line here. And here's where you got to be protective with your eyes, because a lot of times you can take this and just take it and smack it against a piece of metal, and it will depress this and it will squirt out oil. And sometimes a couple quick taps will relieve the pressure, and it will you're able to basically hook this back up. Now this is not so much with back end implements, but it could be. But a lot of times when you're dealing with tractors, with the front end loaders, dealing with grapples, dealing with bale huggers, sometimes they build pressure and you have to do a relief there. And the easiest way to do it is just basically take, again, the hose and just smack it down and watch the oil squirt. And I guess I'll show you a quick example here right now. All right, so right now we're here on my Kubota, and it has a third function valve on here, and this is for my bale hugger. But I just want to show you really quickly, when you deal with couplers, a lot of times, again, a lot of times when the machine is off, pressure is released. But say, for example, if I wanted to get this ball and say there's too much pressure in here, I could just take, this coupler and basically smack it on the ground onto a piece of metal, and you see all the oil squirting out. Then it would be really easy for it to go back into the line, and because the pressure's gone, and it's easy to go on. So that's all you really need to do. Just give it a quick tap, and you'll be surprised. It's a lot less work because you're able to do that. So those are like the easiest ways I could tell you to just get back in the action right away, because it'll make your life a little bit easier. But I'm going to leave you with one last thing, and we're going to talk about the rear couplers on tractors, because sometimes people have problems with that, and just talk about that real quick. So now we're at the back of the tractor, and we're looking at my hydraulic top link. I don't have a problem with this, but I kind of want to show you what you need to do, because assume this would be a disc, it could be a plow, it could be anything you're connected to. And most of the time when you were dealing with the back of your tractor, normally if you take it and push it in, it'll relieve the pressure, then you can pull these things out. But sometimes you can push in and it's not relieving the pressure, and you're like, what's wrong with this? It's all screwed up. The best thing you can do is turn your machine off a lot of times, or sometimes you can leave it on, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to figure this out. And then you go up to the remote that this is connected to, and you give it a wiggle. So let me show you that. So we're going to go up front and I'm going to show you. So on my Kubota, this is my remote. So this is the one that's controlling that hydraulic top link. So if I take this and I just give it a wiggle like this, back and forth, that's all I might need to do to relieve the pressure. Sometimes I have to do it with the machine on. It all depends on the machine and the tractor, whether it's older or newer. But sometimes just by doing that, it'll relieve the pressure, and then we can go back and actually be able to push that in and pull it back out. So again, assuming that that was tied up and it was locked in, now I could push this in, pull it back out, and then we're fixed. That's really what it comes down to, is getting these things unlocked, is to do that. Now, I have a Land Pride batwing mower, and what happens with that is it has two actual lines. One line, it needs two remotes to operate. One remote actually lifts it up, and it has one line, and the second remote actually lifts the wings up. But what happens is it's gravity fed the lower down, it's gravity fed for the wings to come down. So that's why I forget sometimes, and I put the two lines in one remote, and a lot of times I kind of build pressure in both of them and I can't get them undone. And what I need to do is do exactly what I showed you, is get in there and kind of screw around and with that remote and relieve the pressure, and then be able to pull one of these out to switch to remotes. So just what I showed you is what I do all the time with tractors if I ever have an issue. But generally, I don't have that kind of problem in the back end. But that's just a little trick that you should know how to do that. Now you can break the line here, but it's really not effective. You're better off to just do it that way. But if you were really locked up and that wasn't working, you're going to have to come over here and break the couplers. Whether you do it back at the tractor at a spot, or you do it here, or maybe you have to do it at a hydraulic cylinder. It all depends on, you know, the machine that you're dealing with, and pick and choose what you're doing. Just remember, if the machine's up in the air and you break the line, the odds are you're going to lose a lot of fluid. So make sure you have eye protection, because then, you know, oil is going to squirt. You know, when we're dealing with a piece of equipment here, it's dead. There's nothing really working. So when you do break the line here, it's just going to drip out. It's not going to be anything really crazy. And if the machine's running, it could be circulating through the system, and then you're going to have pressure buildup. So then you have to be careful. So just use common sense. It's best to work with the machine off. Use eye protection if you need it, and be smart about it. But bottom line is, take your time, and it's relatively simple. And the more you do this, the more you'll understand it. It's really not that hard. But don't fight it. You know, just break that line and get used to doing this, and your life will be a lot easier, and you'll feel good about it because you'll learn a few things. And if you're new to tractors, this is important stuff to know, and it'll make your life a little bit easier. So this is just experience that I've learned over years. Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a very spontaneous video. You know, I just happened to have this problem, and I remember a couple of people really wanted me to cover this, and you know, it was a good opportunity, so I took it. So hopefully somebody gained some experience out of this and learned something from it. Again, you know, this is stuff I deal with all the time. I know others do it too. And the bottom line is, there are tools on the market out there that could help you, you know, do this decompression stuff. But you're going to spend $100, $150 for these tools. And bottom line, all you need is 2 wrenches. You're set to jet, and you don't have to waste your money on other stuff. So this is very easy to deal with, and it's going to happen to everybody out there. If you own a tractor or skid steer, I guarantee it's going to happen to you. You just got to have the experience to know how to deal with it. So with that said, thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Be safe.